My Govanen Melanine, and well met indeed. I am Arachir Galadurthin, the head of the modding team behind Divide and Conquer. Welcome back to Divide and Conquer as we continue. Oh, hold on, microphone's in the wrong place. There we are. There we are. As we continue on as the Adûnâim. We are not doing too badly, courtesy of... No, we're not. We're doing atrociously. However, we have been fed a lifeline, as I'm sure many of you will remember, with the fact that Khazad-dûm has attacked Ostin-Ethil, which has cut Imladris off from reinforcing Tharbad, and means that in 8 turns or so, we get to kill one of the sons of Elrond, which is brilliant. I also am, of course, now returning to a standard recording schedule. There was only one Adûnâim and one overview video last week, because, of course, there were 3 installed DaC-related videos, and it took up my entire weekend, and so I wanted a break. So I only did one normal recording, but this week I returned to normal with them, and I shall do 1 overview, and most likely 2 Adûnâim episodes. And we just wait and see. The reason I'm holding off on starting Lothlorien at the moment is because I know that various bug fixes and changes and small little things will go into a patch that we'll release sometime in April. And so I don't really want to start it knowing that a fix for something might be just around the corner. But equally then I think people might be getting a little bored of the Adûnâim campaign, and so it'd be better to get the ball rolling sooner rather than later. So I'm not really too sure what to do, really.
Yes, your orders, my lord.
But I'll have a look where we are next weekend and go from there. If you're wondering what I'm doing with the troops, somebody posted in a comment, and I find myself in full agreement, that actually our Gimel-Zor and his brother Gimel-Thon should be leading our proper army, which is currently besieging Tharbad, although it just apparently stopped for some reason by moving those units out. That's annoying.
Yes.
Now we've got to wait another 10 turns. So... Those are moving over there, and Gimel-Zor and Gimel-Thon are going to move over to Gimel-Zagar and take up there. Now, Gimel-Zagar, are you a blood child of someone? Ah, yes, you are. You are thoroughbred child of Gimel-Thon. So the whole family will be over there, which isn't really very good, to be honest. But there we are. I think we're at an end turn, so we'll go ahead and end the turn. In terms of how the Adûnâim campaign is progressing in general, if you are just joining us, or if you wanted a little update, we are ever prepared to be utterly annihilated by Linden when they so choose. But so far they've chosen not to do that. Oh, the Dwarves of Khazad-dûm want... Yeah, alright, go on then.
Another proposition for us, eh?
You don't have any towns, do you? That was a completely stupid... That was so stupid. I've just given them free map information. They've pulled the wool over my eyes. So Linden could kill us at any time, but fortunately, courtesy of Linden being utterly bonkers and never attacking anyone, really, apart from very rare occasions, they have sat there doing sod all. Bree, we are forever in a little war against them, and
Yes, my lord.
it's a bit of a stalemate with Bree because our units are considerably better than Bree's units at all points of the game. We massively outclass Bree, but we are of course right on Bree's doorstep, so they have numbers to their advantage whilst we have skill and elites, and but that is giving them more of an advantage than it's giving us, unfortunately. Oh wow, we've already got 3 generals in this. Oh, and he's the faction heir, not Gimel-Thon. That's interesting. We don't want 3 generals in here, because then we're going to have 5 altogether. That's a ridiculous army. We've got so many generals, though. We've just got armies of them.
Yes, my lord.
Well, it'll only be 4, actually, because one of these will be left behind as the garrison commander, so... in the turn again. If you're wondering what 2.3 the patch will be, it's not going to be totally standalone, so it'll just be one more download you'll have to do and install. It'll install in exactly the same way that all the others have installed. It will delete necessary files before it installs, so you'll have to install it to the right place. And it won't be anywhere near as large, of course. It will be very small indeed. It will take no time at all to download or install, and it will just fix the few little bugs and bits and pieces here, there, and everywhere. Another general. No, thank you. And as I say, we hope to get that out sometime in the next month or so. We're just kind of gathering all bug reports that we can. We've got a fair few and fixed most of them, and we're just working out little kinks here and there. One such sort of bug is, of course, invasions returned to the game with version 2.1. And in quite a few test campaigns that we've had tales from in the Better Team and indeed from others on YouTube, it seems that invasions are utterly crippling and ruining the campaigns for the orcs. And so Racer has popped on his thinking man's glasses and... Eric Hazardum have taken Austin Ethiel. Anyway, Racer has solved the problem, and he has finally managed to, or DaC now finally has, delayed invasions. Oh, the Dwarven King is dead, whatever that means.
Yes, my lord.
Right, you guys go in there, and then if
Your
you can,
orders, my lord.
jump across and govern the army. There we are. Although we're 3 turns behind now, unfortunately.
Yes, my lord.
You guys are ready?
Your orders,
I don't
my
really
lord.
want to send 4 generals off on their own.
Yes, my lord.
But I can't leave this with just a general in it. But an army of just 4 generals is a joke. But go on a raid. Go on a raid.
Yes, my lord. Your orders, my lord.
Go and see what we can do to stall Bree. We might have to invade Tharbad because we need the money. So invasions are going to be delayed. We're at the minute not set on the exact amount of turns, but it will certainly be 80 plus, for example. So there won't be any invasions at the beginning of the game, but they'll come in a little bit later on. So that's just a fix for 2.3. Looking into the future then for version 3, or whatever we decide to call it, we may well go with adding in Tola Khans, which is the Jihad system, basically turning the Jihad system on, which would allow Gondor, Dol Amroth and the Northern Dúnedain to strike back at certain targets. Oh, Enedwaith are falling fast. Orcs of the Misty Mountains like us, though. Imrazor has come... Imrazor! Do you know who Imrazor is? Shall I enlighten you? I'll enlighten you. Imrazor the Númenórean is said to be the father of the first prince of Dol Amroth.
To battle.
And he's going to stay in there because if he stays in there, he gets free upkeep and we're losing money. 6 turns more of losing money. This campaign's just been one of losing money. I can't believe how quickly Enedwaith has capitulated. And of course, they're going to storm across the river, aren't they? Lyndon, go to war with Isengard for me. I need it. End the turn again. This campaign really does hang on a knife edge. I've been thinking, by the way, obviously Lothlorien will be the next campaign that I do, but if the Adûnâim does go foul and we do actually lose, I think I probably will play as Canned, but just to show off to the wider world the Canned script. So if you're not sure about playing the Canned script and you want to get a flavour for it, then I hope to cover that in a campaign, I think. Canned has had so much changed about them that I think they'll work. I think they'll be good as a...
My lord.
As a campaign.
Yes.
Apologies,
Tomorrow's journey planned out.
I'm not actually particularly well today, and I've done what I can today to do nothing. And
Yes, my lord.
and it's snowing here again in England. It's currently the 17th of March, and we again have snow. Not anything that's going to stop anyone or disable or delay anything. But it's bloody freezing, and it shouldn't be. Alright, let's get a battle in this episode, though. So, a quick raid on Sackville for some extra funds. Captain Hubert, he's not got anything we need to worry about.
Muster your courage, men. We march into battle.
We'll take the fight to him. I'll tell you what I have been doing as well, is this Friday, I finished reading Oathbreaker, by Brandon Sanderson. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I know that it's been a particularly divisive book, and some people have said it's really quite garbage and it feels a bit like filler, but I thought it was enjoyable. I did think perhaps at the end there were a little too many perspectives, and it did jump around like mad, for those of you that have read it. And it was a little, like, I kind of just wanted him to stick with one guy's story, but I could understand that, of course, it was a rather climactic point in the story, and so you couldn't just have one person's concluding story, because that would kind of conclude the entire event. So it had to be broken up, but I thought maybe it was broken up a little too much, and I was disappointed to not I think some characters got a bit too much time, certain characters got not enough time, and certain characters got time when they just shouldn't have had at all. I don't know though. I'm not a fantasy writer, and I've never created a world of such large scope as Brandon Sanderson. But I felt that the book was thoroughly enjoyable, and I would highly recommend it. But I think the word I would use was that it felt a little packed, overpopulated. Too many perspectives and viewpoints, and especially with all of the interludes between the parts, you just feel like you're learning about a million different people at once. And sometimes it's easier to just follow maybe 3 people and their exploits. And some people will come into their story and might go out of their story, but I don't need to know about every individual person that comes into their story, if that makes sense. Anyway, so I finished reading that. So I decided to start rereading The Hobbit. And I'm reminded of how short the book is, because in 20 minutes on my lunch break I managed to complete 10% of it according to my Kindle. I'm sure other ebook readers are available, but as I'm not the BBC, I'm not actually contractually obliged to tell you that. But I have done anyway. Anyway, so I'm reading it on the Kindle, and I haven't read it now for 2 years. 2 years ago was the last time I read it, when I was travelling New Zealand, quite fittingly. I read The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings while I was travelling. And
the battle is very much in our favour. Victory will be ours.
So obviously, I'm a Lord of the Rings fanatic, but I don't know the books word for word, and few people I'm sure do. But I'm quite taken, or quite struck, at how almost word for word the interactions between Gandalf and Bilbo in the first sort of opening scenes of the film, and indeed the first 10% of the book, how the film does take almost word for word their interactions. I was quite surprised at that. In addition as well, the songs. So I know that Tolkien is a big fan of songs, and they pervade his works like water through I don't know, a sponge. It's a fitting analogy. And but I was quite the song that the dwarves sing, for example, when they're cleaning up Bag End. That is literally word for word, except some of the lines are put into different orders so that it works better as a sung song rather than a spoken song. But otherwise it was identical, and I thought that was amazing. And so I find it now even more baffling that the films were able to lose their way so drastically when the start of the book is almost identical to the start of the film. Other than, of course, in the book, where I'm only 10% in, and already Thorin is painted completely differently. The rest of the dwarves are fairly fitting to their personas, save some of them have been adapted. For example, they've made Dwalin the proper, like, aggressive, angry warrior. Whereas in the book, most of the hot dwarves are all jovial, happy beings. Because remember, it's a kid's book. But Thorin is changed more than anyone else. Obviously, in the films, they make him as almost an antagonist towards Bilbo, and they have to have this weird relationship of trust growing throughout the film. But in the book, Thorin is right off the mark. He's as jovial and as happy as the rest of them, and he's keen to talk. And it was just
lost half their men.
It's interesting to see how much they changed him just to provide this kind of brooding, gloomy leader that they portray him as in the film, whereas he's not like that at all in the book. So that was interesting as well. But the biggest thing that amazes me is just that, as I say, I've been reading for 20 minutes and I'm 10% of the way through. That means I'm going to finish the book in a couple of hours. I'm going to arguably finish the book quicker than the entire collection of Hobbit films. And that surely can't be right. That just cannot be right. How did they take this book and turn it into 3 films? Well, of course they did that because the Universal or whoever has the rights wanted the money. I know that I think Peter Jackson did have some input in the 3 films, but I think, if I remember correctly, I think he advocated 2 films. Now, I think you probably could have stretched The Hobbit to be 2 films, because you can get more of a world-building sense then. Remember, in the Hobbit book, it is literally about the story. And one of the marked differences between The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, to my way of thinking, is that The Hobbit is literally just the story of Bilbo Baggins and the reclamation of Erebor. Whereas in The Lord of the Rings, it's very much more about world building. Maybe not intentionally, but by reading The Lord of the Rings, you get a much bigger sense of what's happening in the world and the histories of the peoples. Whereas in The Hobbit, you get very, very little of that. Very little of that indeed. It really is, as I say, it's just about Bilbo and the dwarves and their adventures. And remember, as I've said already now twice, it's a kid's book. It doesn't really go heavy or harder at all. It's light and jovial, and I've used that word too much, but it is. And so I could imagine that by adding in that world building aspect, the film could be 2 films, because you could pad it with a bit more exploration, a bit more time spent in, say, Rivendell or in Mirkwood, for example. Apologies for the bodily sounds, but I have got quite the blocked nose at the moment, and it makes talking and breathing at the same time quite difficult. My throat is also kicking up a right fuss. But it is just a cold. I'm not one of those man flu people where I'm then suddenly debilitated and I can't possibly do anything. But I do feel pretty crappy, and the weather didn't help. Anyway, side notes all. That's how I could see them being 2 films, but 3 films is just a massive stretch. And of course, the biggest change for the films is the Legolas / whatever she was called subplot.
This is a clear victory.
I have absolutely no qualms with adding women into the Lord of the Rings and making and having, for example, a woman play a lead role, because apparently people can't connect with a film that's based off of a book that doesn't have women lead characters. To my understanding, Tolkien was in no way sexist. That was just the story he wrote, but people who have agendas want to read things the way they want to read them, don't they? And there's nothing you can do about that. So, and also probably because the studio would, I imagine money drives most things, and I imagine the studio would have thought that if we don't put a woman into this, how will girls connect with the film? And so they put in a strong woman for that. But equally, there would have been noble intentions to make it a bit more diverse in terms of gender, and I fully support that. I'm not strongly opinionated. In fact, I'm not opinionated. I don't I'm not all for men power or anything. I don't care about any of that. I just so the point I'm trying to make is that whilst I can understand why they added her for that gender diversity, I also feel like her entire story arc was basically just padding, because they didn't have enough time. They didn't have enough stuff to actually make 3 films out of this thing, annoyingly. And they could have added her, and she could have, I don't know, there could have been so many other ways she could have been added, but she could have been, for example, Thranduil's second in command. They could have done anything like that, but she didn't have to be this grand hero that goes off and falls in love with a dwarf, which also is a subplot I just don't understand. There doesn't have to be a love triangle. That's the bit I don't get. I fully agree with adding the woman. I don't agree at all with adding a love triangle for no reason. It's a fantasy adventure film. Like, who cares about the love stuff? I certainly didn't, and I found it incredibly annoying and very boring. Right, having raided the city, I think we'll actually stay here for a while. Sap them for their money. Give it another end turn. Attack me, go on, you buggers. I'll kill you all. Are you hobbits or are you Breelanders? Obviously they're Breelanders, but I mean, are they hobbit troops or are they human troops? We'll find out. They're going straight in. Captain Theo and Captain Grep. You've not got much. Some SWAT sheriffs there might do some damage. Oh, and you've got nothing actually. 200 of your 300 strong army are hobbits, and we're just killing off the dregs of Bree's society. The people who have fought somehow managed to survive and are now being thrown against the Adûnâim tide. But just as time withers all things, so will we wither Bree. For we have time. We hope. Right, they're coming from both sides. Sneaky, sneaky. Hobbits are currently all hiding because they can hide anywhere. The Ballastai are going to be the real trouble, but we can shut them down by just standing behind the building. In fact, we could probably shut down most of the fighting. They're obviously going to be coming in this way, and they're going to be coming in this way. Do we go one on each side, or do we... I'll tell you what we'll do. I don't know which ones I care the least about. I recognise his image. And him, I think. So you and you, actually, are going to be the ones that are going to take the fight to the enemy. I'll just go stand over there, then. You guys stand at the back. Into positions, Ben. The bells ring as the enemy closes in. Right, move over because you are going to be the support. Likewise, you're going to support those. Oh, they are trying to flank. Ah, easy. Run over there, shut that flanking down. Brilliant, that's the cavalry dead. Ah, the Ballistite are trying to shoot us. Oh. But if they keep firing, like this, they'll kill their own men in a moment. I am sorry for the sniffing. It's terribly bad mannered, and but I'm just too lazy to cut stuff like that out. I do with sneezes, actually. You might note, if I ever need to sneeze now, I do cut those out very sneakily, because obviously sneezing is just incredibly loud, and so you would hear it, and it would annoy you. And I do try to make the videos at least to a standard where I would consider watching them. And the biggest thing that turns me off of YouTube videos is when they have terrible mic quality. That's my main aim, is to have passable microphone quality. And I've got that now because I've put money into the microphone and I've improved the way that I generally speak when using this. I'm quite pleased actually with how I've kind of cut out some of the worst aspects of my speaking, such as clicking your tongue and doing that with your lips, which I used to do an awful lot. But I hopefully don't do that as much anymore. Oh, 2 merchant cavalrymen regrouped and came back for more. And he's giving that man a bad day of it, isn't he? Oh, and he's dead. There we go. That was easy. Oh, they've changed targets. I think we will win, to be honest, due to the sheer quality of Adûnâim units. That side is where the trouble's going to come. Let's run you through. We're not in defense mode, are we? No. And they've got barely any armor. Look at these few woodsmen. Who are you shooting? Oh, they're shooting these people in the back. That's very unfair. Ah, there we are. Interestingly, I have the Yeti microphone. Can't remember which one. The one that isn't a small round ball. I can't remember the name. Yeti, I think. Or is the other one called the Yeti? No, the other one's called the Snowball, I think, and this one's called the Yeti. Killing more of their own troops. And this one has a mute button, which is very, very useful to just temporarily mute yourself, as the name suggests. But the smaller one doesn't, and that seems like such an odd feature to not include in the smaller one. Surely the difference between this microphone and the lower tier microphone would be the quality, not the features. Why would you restrict the ability to get the mute button? Ah, of course, I suppose. Because people who want the mute button then have to buy the other version, don't they? Foolish Gallo. Answering my own questions.
Only half the enemy force remains.
You'll also be pleased to hear, I'm a little reticent to mention it, but I've recently returned to playing Guild Wars 2, as I pre-purchased the expansion, Path of Fire, and never once logged on after it came out. It's been some time. But I've logged in again, and I've been playing around with it, and I've been enjoying myself. I also joined another guild, one that isn't run by myself, and it's quite interesting being totally anonymous. It feels like a bit of a pressure taken off, actually. Because obviously the guild that I head, the Order of the Swan, is... most people that joined because I said, hey, I'm playing Guild Wars, go play Guild Wars. Whereas joining a guild where people have joined it purely because they are already game players makes it a little easier to do some more of the group content and stuff. But I'm having a blast. Right, we have pretty much won on that side. How are we doing on the other side? Oh, we've pretty much won on that side as well. We're taking minimal losses. Right, move in on those Woodland Hunters. Let's speed this up. Although when we move over there, we're going to lose the protection of the buildings. That's right, if we can get those killed. I want you to come and stand here like this. I don't care if they shoot arrows at you, I really don't. Get into that spot and just stand there and wait. Ah! Just seen a flaw in my design. They're going for the square. Ah, no, there we are. They're bugging off. The reason we're doing this... Are you going to throw stones at me? You are, aren't you?
The enemy army flees the field. Pursue and run them down.
Get those people running away again. Are they all running? Ah, yes, they've won over that side as well. Alright, again, come and stand over there, please. Because the Ballistai crew, we now have to hope that they'll dismount and come and try and get us. Oh, who's this running in? Oh, you guys! Give me a break. You're not going to do anything, lads. You're not going to do anything. Alright, go for it. Cover that ground quickly. Ah, brilliant. Right, they'll make mincemeat of those 16. Oh, he's got a cool hat.
If we continue like this, we will smash the enemy.
And down they go.
The enemy army flees. The enemy are
Heroic
utterly
victory.
vanquished.
We can continue to tax the hobbits. In fact, that probably is going to be the title. Taxing the hobbits. HMRC Hobbiton. For those of you not familiar with England, Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs is the government service that controls all of the taxation in our country. Income tax, inheritance tax, capital gains tax. You name it, it comes from HMRC. It used to be called Inland Revenue. And sometime, I believe before I was born, it changed to HM Revenue and Customs. I assume because it merged, obviously, with our Customs Department, whatever that used to be called. But almost all government departments here in the UK begin with HM, because, of course, we still have a monarch. Which, hate me for it, I am pleased we do. It gives us a nice little identity. And you can't hold people now accountable for the sins of their past. And you also can't be... Well, I'm not that bothered. I don't actually have a strong opinion. Well, I do, actually. I do really like the Queen, but I don't bother reading up about the pros and cons. Because who has time for that? Just get on with yourselves. Enedwaith and Khazad-dûm have made peace. This is good news. Enedwaith can now worry a little less about their impending defeat. And Bree are now going to turn everything back to us. Because they're going to want Sackville back. And we won't let them have it. Now, the question is, do we go for these? No, we've done 6 turns. We'll just continue to siege the buggers. This is the kind of campaign where we've got to actually think about doing it with an attempt to maximise our gains. If Isengard cross the Grey Flood River, then we are in real trouble. And unfortunately, at the prime moment when we were just getting able to attack Dunland and give Enedwaith some assistance, Imladris attacked us, which has cut our plans completely down the middle. My attempts to kind of save Enedwaith, I thought at the time, was the best course of action. I could not foresee that Imladris, one of the game's most passive nations, would come and get involved. That's disappointing. Speaking of passive nations, Galadriel, the last stand of the Lothlorien, has come about. Another family member,
Yes, my lord.
Rioting in Rackville. There's rioting in Sackville.
Is there something I can do for you? Do not think out. You have another proposal then?
They're very reliable, apparently. And our reputation is dubious. I've not allied or done anything with anyone.
I do not think you. This meeting is quite useless.
Well, we've got 500 gold coins and we've got some trade. But Enedwaith, you need to now hold Suduri with everything you have. I'm getting tripped over my own words. We'll be okay if Isengard go for Gondor and ignore us. It's our only hope. But of course, Dunland are going to come straight up and try and attack Tharbad as soon as we take it from Imladris, which will be soon. Khazad-dûm still hold Eregion. I am just going to try and end turn out to the point that we take Tharbad back. We won't be too heavily in debt, probably around minus 20,000 or so. Well, that's where we are at the moment, so it'll be about the same. So we shall see. I know that my channel at the moment is going through some weird ups and downs. I absolutely love organisation and order, and it really pains me each week that I've not been sticking to a schedule. But as soon as I am settled in my new home, which will probably be in about 2.5 months' time, then all of the up and downing will stop. But between now and that point, it will very likely be, there'll be the odd week where there's 1 video, some weeks there might be 3, or maybe even 4. But it's going to fluctuate madly until I can get completely settled into the home. We've done everything we want to do to it, and I can set out a recording schedule and just get on it. But until that time, it really is going to be up and down. I spend most of my time at the moment at Jess's house, and I can't record at her house. And I'd rather see her than do a recording, I'm not going to lie to you. YouTube is still just a hobby, and seeing Jess is more of a life choice. Hold on, who the bloody hell died? I don't remember someone dying in that battle. Avalaben. He's taken one. That's a shame. Was it Avalaben? Hold on. Who was died the latest? 3004. We're in 3011. Oh yeah, it was him. Yeah, he died. He was married to the daughter of Gimmelzor. It's alright. He's got another daughter. That's the problem with these games. Isn't it? It gives you that odd sense of omniscience. Oh, come on, did you rebel against me? Bloody hobbit bastards. Just gifted them troops for no reason there. They've revolted against me. At the point that we take Tharbad, I shall end the episode. I'm looking forward to doing the canned overview on Monday, although you won't get to see it till Friday, but I record them on a Monday before I go and play football. And I really enjoy the overviews, I really do. Speaking of 2.3, by the way, the patch we hope to release, we have decided to not make any major changes, but instead just go for bug fixing and general improvements, like in delaying the invasion, and like removing the number of rebel troops at the game's start, things like that. We're not going to do any grand overhauls, so that we... we're on the last turn. So, number one, so that the faction overviews actually all stay relevant even into the future, because otherwise they're all going to be outdated immediately.
Your orders, my lord.
And number two, just so that 2.3 doesn't become, I don't know, more. We just want it to be a bug fix, basically. We just want it to be a bug fix. Now we need an army. We need to finish Bree. That is what we need to do. The army that could do that is down here in Tharbad. So what I think I'm going to actually do is, Balakan and your 3 general army, you're going to head south. Or actually, if you guys go to Khor Willashar, the garrison of Khor Willashar can head back to our heartlands.
Continuing tomorrow.
And once the army has taken Tharbad, we will pull them out, and we will go for Bree, the capital city. We'll cut the buggers down at the bloody heart and leave them with the Shire, where they can't train many troops. But let's get to the point where we at least have Tharbad. I mean, Dunland has been calling for a ceasefire for quite some time now, and so I'm interested to see if will attack us or if they'll just leave us be. There is, of course, we've done it. We've done it.
Most noble conquest.
The elves have been defeated. Our money never went actually below. Holding Sackville at least just kind of anchored our money. That's good. And we gain another 1,000 gold coins. Many people have reflected that taking Tharbad is actually the primary reason that I have struggled in this campaign, and I can kind of completely agree with you. I chose a province that had very long-term potential, but abysmal short-term gain. And perhaps it would have been better to take somewhere like, for example, somewhere like Bree, for example, would have been a good call, actually. Oh, I have very good relations with Isengard, so I'm hoping they won't attack us. They'll just leave us be.
Yes, my lord.
Orders.
Oh, you have to go there first. Oh, we don't have any troops, do we? You're going to have to leave one unit behind. I don't want to leave a unit behind. Oh, you could leave him. Gemilzagar. Yeah. Right. Straight for... Oh, I don't know. Bree's actually got an army. What am I worried about? We've got a phenomenally good army. We've got Gimmelzor and Gimmelthon in it. We want to make sure they don't go below 3 provinces, though. But they've got 4 over there, actually. So, no, we will go for to reclaim Calatan first. Calatar, sorry. So, you stay there in Tharbad. Pop that to low so they don't hate us. Kingsmen is at 6%. Royal Tharbad Kingsmen is at 69%. And we can get Adûnâim here now. We can't, of course, because we don't have any money. But we can in spirit. We've retaken that. And we don't border Imladris anymore, so that threat is going to go. But I am going to end the episode there, but we'll just take a look at the world again. Oh, need a W. There we are. Ostenithil, the now capital city of Khazad-dûm, and the elves. Fortunately, the Misty Mountains have finally stepped in by the looks of it. No, they still haven't, but they are at least threatening them now. So the elves have been reduced to Anon and Arod and Imladris. They won't trouble us anymore, which is good. Angmar still stalemated. If we can take Bree down, I think Angmar is going to be hugely assisted. Because they won't have to worry about the Breelanders on that, just on the other side of the Adûnâim. Interestingly, our nation at the moment looks a little bit like a star, a 5-pointed star, which is the shape, of course, of the Isle of Numenor. 1, 2, 3, 4, very tenuously, and 5. Isengard are utterly supreme. They have as much land as Gondor has. If they turn against Gondor, my god, it's going to be a storm. And that is what I'm hoping for, to be honest. Also, I don't think Isengard are allied to Mordor. No, they're not. So, there's nothing to stop Isengard taking on Mordor once they ruin Gondor, which they will do. With the current state of the affairs, if Isengard turn on Mordor, they'll take them. But Enenwythe aren't out yet, but they will be out soon. They've lost Dare and Alkford, their 2 greatest. Dol Guldur is supreme over there. The Misty Mountains are doing incredibly well. Only Caras Galadhon remains with Lothlorien. They're holding out in their little circle there, and that's it, really. Oh, the Anduin is still alive, with Bjorn's Halls. It won't be for much longer, though. Oh, and Rakiberg has fallen to the Dwarves. So the Dwarves are fighting both east and west. Of course, with Rune pressing right into the heartlands of Ravanian there. So that's the state of the world at the moment. And that's where this episode will end. So thank you very much for watching, if indeed you have. And join us next time as we actually strike back. For now, and until we speak again, Navar Naden Perimad Melunin, and farewell.